Hey guys, it's Jay with the Douchebag Brigade. What up to all my Magnetites? This is the first video I'm doing in about a week and a half, and it's kind of a depressing one. So we're here waiting for all this information on upcoming news regarding, SMT5, Persona 5, the Royals about to drop. A lot of people have played Persona 5 Scramble, at least the demo in Japan with the Japanese version. And here's this really sad part. So I did an opening video before playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and also after having played my first few hours of Tokyo Mirage Sessions. And so here's the problem. My initial review of the game was that the gameplay was pretty interesting. The battle system, I liked how they tweaked a couple things, and they had these session attacks and added a new layer to the, Mega 10, Persona, SMT platform. And I really liked it at first, for a moment. And then I got turned off as soon as I used the session attack. Not by choice. You don't really have full choice on your character using it. You can't stop them from doing it. And then I found out that they could use an elemental attack that heals the enemy. And I felt like that was a real mistake, because it adds a level of tactics, but it also detracts intellectual usage. And what I mean by that is, you should have the ability to say, no, do not follow up. Because if not, then you can't attack the weakness anymore. And it's kind of like, well, what was I supposed to do? Just reassess the character entirely? I mean, prior to the fight? But anyway, that's a minor nitpick, whatever. If you want to look at that as negative or positive, I can see how you can look at it as positive, as it adds a layer of tactical change and preparing ahead of time. So in that respect, I have nothing to complain about, I guess. I see where anyone would be coming from with that. But it did bother me specifically a little bit, but whatever. Here's the problem with the game in its entirety. As I said before, I nitpick at the story and what it's about, and, probably region reasons. It doesn't really appeal to me the way that it would appeal probably to someone from Japan, or maybe even from Korea. Someone has that K-pop, J-pop, kind of vibe going. And I can respect that, there's certain things that don't translate. My problem comes down to this. I decided to play Persona 1. Definitely not everyone's favorite game, but certainly one of my favorite Personas. Anyway, I'm playing the Snow Queen quest, as I've talked about in a few different videos, and here's the problem. I haven't picked up Tokyo Mirage Sessions since my first playthrough for about, maybe 5 to 10 hours. I have not picked the game up since, and I am more than happy to not play it again and replace it with Persona 1 or Persona PSP. As it's called. So you have to sit back and then wonder for a moment, boy, even though this game is a fun RPG or JRPG, it's definitely not on the level of Mega 10 that would normally pull me in. I'm playing a game that's about 20 years old, maybe more, and I'm having more fun than I was with Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I guess the point in what I'm trying to make here is that I gave TMS, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Encore, a pretty favorable review, but looking back on it, now that I've had some time to let kind of like it's a new game, a new Mega 10 game kind of wear off a little bit, I find myself not feeling any reason to go back to it. And I think that's an underlying problem. The fact that I don't feel compelled to play the game and see what happens in the story is a problem, because Megaten games in general, even when they're very, gameplay driven, or not very character driven, I should say, like something like Nocturne, where the characters are not fully fleshed out, really. They have moments, but they're not, you don't have a crazy amount of dialogue like you would in like Persona 3 or 4 or 5. I feel like I don't feel any reason to complete this game. I don't feel any reason to go back other than the gameplay. And honestly, the gameplay is not done any better than Strange Journey or Strange Journey Redux. Essentially, when you think about the session system, and I really didn't put this together until I was mulling it over in my head, and I got Strange Journey for my nephew, the Redux, and I was sitting there thinking about it when I played Strange Journey, and the alignment system, in a sense, causes a follow-up attack. It was different than the press turn system, and at first it was kind of strange, but it really grew on me that your alignment choices could be what follows up with a weakness attack. And I thought that was pretty cool. When I first did it, I was confused at first, but then I realized, I was like, okay, it does give you kind of a limitation on which demons you're going to bring in. But it was fun, and it correlated, and it gave me something to think about tactically ahead of time. And that's done better than the session attacks. It's done better than these follow-up session attacks. I feel no real joy or pleasure in these follow-up attacks. Kind of like how in Persona Q2 I didn't really feel much when two of your characters do a follow-up. I felt like it was unnecessary. Though it helped from time to time, it didn't feel necessary. That's not to say follow-up attacks aren't fun in Persona, 3, 4, and 5. They actually add a level of capability in those games. But I don't know, this whole entire concept behind what they've done just doesn't appeal to me. And I'm someone that I don't come from, for someone that is not a Megaten fan, this game has very interesting combat systems. It changes and deviates from the norm of combat that you might be accustomed to with your typical old school Final Fantasies or Phantasy Star, something like that. But for someone like myself who's played obscure Megaten games, who's played a lot of the older games, who's played many Megaten titles, including, fan translated ones, I find myself not impressed with the changes and deviations from the battle system implemented here. And I find myself very let down by the entirety of what they've done with Fire Emblem. I mean, the game itself does not have redeeming qualities to where I feel like I want to know more about how Crom and Ike and all these other people ended up as shadows or performas or whatever they are. I don't feel connected. I don't feel, and I'm a pretty big Fire Emblem fan myself, and I enjoy those games. But I don't really see a point in adding the only thing you add over to the game are the characters and kind of sort of the triangle system. I mean, that seemed like a real bad decision. And I understand this game probably went through, creation hell with deciding what elements from which game was going to be promoted. But this just didn't. I expected a Shin Megami Tensei chess match, and what I got was a Persona, almost like a Persona graphic novel mixed with a little bit of fighting. Well, a lot of bit of fighting, I guess. But yeah, I didn't get what I expected. I'm not saying that it's terrible, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm probably gonna trade this game in to get some money off Persona 5 The Royal when I get that at the end of the month. And I'm just being honest, and I hate to say that my initial review isn't relevant, because it is, but I also have to say that from a longtime Megaten fan, a lot of what I have played in that 5-10 hour stretch did not make me enjoy the game very much. I mean, I'm okay with reading. I don't care about the voice acting thing that much. I mean, personally, if you're going to have voice acting, I prefer to understand what they're saying, but I'm okay with reading. I grew up in that PS2 where only a quarter of the games actually had spoken dialogue and things like that, and PS1 games. I have no problem with the reading portion. That's fine with me, but I have to say that it is kind of annoying to hear all of these attacks said in Japanese without any deviation whatsoever. I'd rather hear nothing. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that if you are on the fence, kind of like I was before buying this, and I will be honest with you, I almost bought a Craigslist Wii U back in the day just to get a little bit more Megaten. I really was craving more Megaten, and I was going to get the original iteration of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which probably would have cost me a pretty penny. But fortunately I didn't, because I think there would have, you know how you buy a game sometimes and it's like, yeah, I might get back to you, and it just sits on your shelf forever? That's pretty much where this was going. And I'm disappointed to say this, because I really had high hopes for this game. I really was in the mind frame that I might enjoy this, and I just can't say that I do. As disappointing as that is, as a hardcore Megaten fan and someone who wants to see Atlas obviously do well, because I mean, I want to see more Megaten games. I want to see HD remakes of old school SNES fan translated games. You know, I want to see this. You know what I wanted? And I've said this in multiple videos. I wanted Tokyo Mirage Sessions, this whole Fire Emblem crossover. I wanted this to be Majin Tensei. That's really what I wanted, and I'm not lying. I wanted Majin Tensei 2 with beautiful graphics, and I didn't get anything even remotely close. I know that particular statement might not make a lot of sense, maybe even confused to some extent, but that's really what I was looking for, was something to really captivate me, and I ended up not getting it. I ended up getting something that would be like fair weather. Like maybe if this was my first Megaten game, I could understand how I could be really pulled in, but you know, I didn't come here to play one of the Artisanal Leco games, I think that's how you pronounce it. I didn't come here to play fucking, you know, an RPG that revolves around singing. I wanted to play a Shin Megami Tensei or Persona-esque game, and what I got was basically a shell of a Persona game. It almost feels like I'm playing Persona 5, the incomplete version, or Persona 5, the demo, or Persona 5, the you know, stuck in confusion hell and being created. Like I am playing a shell of what I should have gotten. I would have been happier with from what I've seen, and I am not a Dynasty Warriors, well, except for like the original 2. I'm not a big Dynasty Warriors fan. You know, that should stay in its own lane. I would much rather have gotten Scramble in this, and I think that says something. But anyway, I think I've bored you guys enough with my opinion on Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I hope that I'm not too negative on it. That's not my goal here, but I do want to give you guys an honest opinion now that I've had time to actually sit and think about it for a little bit. Don't waste your money on this. Persona 5 The Royal's coming out. I know you guys are probably tired of Persona 5, and I mean, to be fair, I'm not like a Persona 5 fanboy. That's not my favorite game. In fact, I'd say I like the first game maybe a little bit more than the fifth game. But that's a very, very debatable choice. I'm sure most do not agree with that. But my point being is that if you're going to waste money on Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I think you're better off holding back and waiting a month now to get Persona 5 The Royal. Maybe if your local GameStop has some sort of deal that you can return it for a certain value level, you know, maybe and you want to give it a shot, or maybe you're into that the J-pop kind of stuff, this game is probably for you. But I can tell you for a fact, they could have literally just taken Strange Journey's battle system and probably it would have been better. I hate to say that, but it's pretty true. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Certainly, I am open to hearing anyone else's response and thoughts on the game itself. Really let down, but I can't really say that because I knew what I was getting. You know, so I can't say I'm truly let down, but yeah, it's a letdown, and because it's a letdown, I feel less inclined to play it anymore. So, as I said before, expect for me to be returning that to get some money off Persona 5 The Royal. Anyway, well, this is Jay with Douchebag Brigade. Sorry for the depressing review and retrospect, but I just, you know, would like to save you guys some money. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day, and please comment and debate me on this subject if you're a huge fan. I'd love to hear your points. All right, I'm out.